The 7 days that shattered opposition politics. Here's what really happened. 1 vote. 7 days. And an opposition coalition pushed to the brink. What unfolded after Bill 7 was not just political disagreement, it was a cascade of miscalculations, public contradictions, legal threats, and internal fractures. This was not a bad week. It may go down as the longest week in opposition politics. Good day, viewers. Welcome to another edition of the InspirAfrica Official. I'm Nakash. You know, it's been quite a week here, hasn't it? The kind of week where you wake up, check the news, and wonder if you're still living in the same political reality you went to bed in. But that's exactly what we need to talk about today, because what I'm about to share with you, this is our lead story, and frankly, it's the kind of political earthquake that doesn't just shake the ground beneath our feet, it shatters the very foundations we thought were unbreakable. Picture this, 7 days. Just 168 hours. That's all it took for the opposition landscape to fracture into pieces so small, so scattered, that political analysts are still trying to pick them up off the floor. What happens when the very pillars of opposition unity, figures who once stood shoulder to shoulder against a common adversary, turn their weapons on each other? When the battle cries that once echoed in perfect harmony suddenly become a cacophony of accusations, betrayals, and midnight defections, how does a coalition that promised the people an alternative, that swore on every platform and at every rally that they were different, that they were united, that they were ready to govern, how does such a movement collapse so spectacularly, so completely, in less time than it takes for a wound to properly heal? Was this a long simmering tension that finally boiled over? Or was it something more sinister, a carefully orchestrated dismantling from within? Were there puppet masters pulling strings in smoke-filled rooms? Or was this simply the inevitable implosion of egos too large to coexist? And here's the question that should keep every citizen awake at night: if the opposition cannot hold itself together for 7 days, how can they ever hope to hold a government together for 7 years? What does this mean for democracy when the alternative to power devours itself before it ever gets a chance to govern? Factual foundation. The revelation came to light on the evening of December 9th, when what should have been a routine strategy meeting of the United Opposition Coalition descended into chaos at their headquarters in the capital. The backdrop was already tense. 4 months, the coalition, formed 18 months earlier by 7 opposition parties under the banner of democratic reform, had been showing cracks. There were whispers in political circles. Rumors of disagreement over candidate selection for the upcoming general elections. But nothing prepared anyone for what was about to unfold. The trouble began innocuously enough. Coalition leaders had convened to finalize their manifesto and confirm their presidential candidate. Present were Coalition Chairman Marcus Okonkwo of the Democratic Reform Party, Deputy Chair and firebrand politician Amara Diallo from the People's Progressive Movement, and 3 other party leaders representing smaller but crucial coalition members. According to sources who were in that room, the meeting started at 6 p.m. By 6:45 p.m., voices were raised. By 7:30 p.m., Amara Diallo had walked out, her phone already dialing journalists before she'd even reached her car. Within 2 hours, her accusations were everywhere, on social media, on evening news programs, in emergency press conferences hastily assembled outside the coalition headquarters. She claimed financial impropriety. She alleged that Chairman Okonkwo had secretly negotiated with the ruling party. She presented what she called evidence of a planned betrayal. By December 10th, day 2, 3 of the 7 coalition parties had issued statements demanding Okonkwo's resignation. By day 3, December 11th, 2 parties announced they were suspending their participation. Emergency meetings were called. Cancelled. Called again. On day 4, the coalition's communications director resigned on live television, citing irreconcilable differences and ethical concerns. Day 5 brought leaked audio recordings, their authenticity disputed, but their impact devastating, suggesting secret meetings between coalition members and ruling party operatives. Day 6 saw the coalition's largest donor publicly withdraw funding, stating they had lost confidence in the coalition's integrity and viability. And on day 7, December 15th, the final blow, the formal dissolution announcement, delivered not by the chairman, but by lawyers representing what remained of the coalition's executive committee. 7 days. From unified front to complete collapse. Direct evidence. Now, let me share with you what was actually said, because the words themselves tell a story no analysis can fully capture. Here's Amara Diallo, speaking to reporters immediately after walking out of that December 9th meeting. I can no longer, in good conscience, sit in that room and pretend that what is happening is normal. What I have witnessed tonight, it's not just disappointing, it's a betrayal of every citizen who believed in us. Marcus Okonkwo has been negotiating behind our backs. And I'm not talking about strategy meetings, I'm talking about deals. Deals with the very government we are supposed to be opposing. When pressed for specifics, she continued. Look, I have seen the bank statements. I have seen the communications. There are text messages, there are meetings that happened in private homes, in hotel rooms, that none of us were told about. And when we confronted him tonight, when we asked him directly, Marcus, is this true? You know what his response was? Silence. Just silence. And then deflection. We'll discuss this later. This isn't the time. Well, when is the time? When is the appropriate time to address the fact that our chairman might be compromised? Chairman Okonkwo's response came the following morning in a televised address. These allegations are not just false, they are dangerous. They are designed to destroy what we have built. Yes, I have had conversations with individuals across the political spectrum. That is what leaders do. We build bridges, we explore possibilities, we listen. But to suggest that I had betrayed this coalition or negotiated some secret arrangement with the ruling party is absolutely false, and frankly, it is defamatory. I challenge Ms. Diallo to present her so-called evidence in a proper forum, not in a media circus. If she has bank statements, show them. If she has text messages, produce them. But what she's doing is she's throwing accusations into the wind and hoping they'll stick. And that's not leadership, that's sabotage. But perhaps the most damning testimony came from Joseph Kamani, the coalition's now former communications director, during his resignation on December 13th. I have worked in politics for 23 years. I have seen disagreements. I have seen power struggles. I have seen egos clash. But what I witnessed over the past 4 days is something different entirely. It's not about policy disagreements. It's not about who should be president. It's about something darker. I was instructed to draft press releases denying things I knew to be true. I was told to attack Amara Diallo publicly while privately, other leaders were admitting to me that some of her concerns had merit. I was caught between competing narratives, each being pushed by different factions, and nobody seemed to care about what was actually true anymore. They only cared about winning the narrative war. So when someone asks me, why are you leaving now? My answer is simple, I cannot serve a coalition that has lost its moral compass. And I'm not saying everyone is corrupt or everyone is guilty. But the trust is gone. Without trust, there is no coalition. The leaked audio. Approximately 7 minutes long, recorded allegedly on December 12, features voices believed to be 2 coalition members and an unidentified third party. Voice 1, if we can guarantee that the cabinet positions are protected, we can work something out. Voice 2, how many seats are we talking about? Voice 1, minimum? 60. But that's negotiable depending on what they're offering in terms of ministries. Voice 3, and Okonkwo is on board with this? Voice 1. Let's just say he's not opposed. He understands the reality of the situation. Voice 2, what about Diallo? Voice 1, she's a problem, but problems can be managed. When confronted about this recording, coalition spokesperson Linda Adeyemi said, "We cannot authenticate every audio clip that appears on social media. Voices can be synthesized. Conversations can be taken out of context." What I can tell you is that this coalition has always maintained transparent communication among its members, and any suggestion that deals are being made in dark corners is simply not reflective of how we operate. But for many observers, the damage was already done. Deeper analysis. So what are we really looking at here? What does this 7-day implosion tell us about the state of opposition politics, not just in this country, but across the continent? Dr. Patricia Mwangi, a political scientist at the University of Nairobi, offers this perspective. Coalition politics are inherently fragile. You're bringing together parties with different ideologies, different constituencies, different funding sources, and asking them to subordinate their individual interests to a collective goal. That requires extraordinary trust and strong institutional frameworks. What we saw here was a coalition built more on mutual opposition to the ruling party than on shared positive vision. And when you build something primarily on what you're against rather than what you're for, the foundation is unstable from the start. The opposition's collapse has sent shockwaves through the political establishment. The ruling party, predictably, has seized the moment. Presidential spokesperson James Mtumba issued a statement saying, "This unfortunate episode demonstrates what we have been saying all along. That the opposition lacks the maturity, the unity, and the integrity necessary to govern. Voters deserve leaders who can work together, who can be trusted, who can put national interest above personal ambition." What we witnessed this week was none of those things. But not everyone sees this as a victory for the government. Opposition analyst and former parliamentarian Grace Wamboe cautions. Yes, the opposition imploded spectacularly. But let's not pretend that makes the ruling party's governance record any better. What this really shows is a deeper crisis in our democratic culture. When parties are more focused on power acquisition than on principle, when coalition agreements are worth less than the paper they're printed on, when leaders speak of unity publicly while plotting division privately, these are symptoms of a sick political system, regardless of which side of the aisle you sit on. There are also serious legal questions emerging. If the leaked audio is authentic, if there were indeed unauthorized negotiations with the ruling party, several coalition members could face breach of contract claims. The coalition agreement, signed by all parties in July 2024, included specific clauses prohibiting individual negotiations and requiring collective decision-making on all major issues. Constitutional lawyer Ahmed Hassan explains. Political coalitions in our jurisdiction have limited legal enforceability. They're essentially contractual agreements between parties. But if it can be proven that fiduciary duties were breached, that funds were misappropriated, or that party leaders engaged in fraud, there could be both civil and potentially criminal liability. The difficulty is gathering admissible evidence and proving intent. Then there's the question of the money, always the money. The coalition had raised substantial funds from both domestic and international donors. Where does that money go now? Who controls the bank accounts? Who owns the intellectual property, the campaign materials, the databases? Financial analyst Robert Kipchoge notes. We're talking about potentially millions of dollars in limbo. Donors are already demanding audits. Some are threatening to sue for return of funds. And if the coalition formally dissolves, there are legal questions about asset distribution that could tie up courts for years. This isn't just a political crisis, it's a financial and legal nightmare. Perhaps most troubling is what this means for voters who believed in the opposition's promise of change. At a town hall meeting in Nairobi on December 16, citizens expressed frustration and disillusionment. "We put our hope in them," said Mary Wanjiru, a small business owner. "We attended their rallies. We donated what little we could. And for what? So they could fight over positions before they even won an election? They've let us down." Young activist David Aching added, "My generation is so tired of this. The old guard promising change while behaving exactly like those they're trying to replace. If the opposition can't offer a genuine alternative, if they're just as corrupt and power-hungry, then what's the point? Why should we even bother to vote?" And therein lies perhaps the greatest casualty of these 7 days, not just the coalition itself, but the very idea that opposition politics can be conducted differently, that alternatives to entrenched power are possible, that change can come through democratic means. So there you have it, viewers. 7 days that shattered opposition politics. 7 days that revealed the fragility of political coalitions built on convenience rather than conviction. 7 days that may have set back democratic progress by years. The questions remain: will any of these leaders face accountability? Can the opposition ever rebuild trust with the electorate? And most importantly, what lessons, if any, will be learned from this spectacular collapse? I want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think the opposition can recover from this? Were you surprised by how quickly it fell apart? What does this mean for the upcoming elections? Your voice matters, and I read every comment. Thank you so much for watching this edition of InspirAfrica Official. We'll continue to follow this story as it develops, because something tells me we haven't heard the last of this saga. Until tomorrow, when we'll be back with more stories that matter, take care of yourselves, stay informed, and keep questioning everything. This is Nakash, signing off. Peace.